Hi there, guys, and welcome back, perhaps rather surprisingly, to Once Upon a Time in Blackpool. Yeah, once the series ended, I've had a few days off to kind of do some graphics and prepare some stuff for FM20, but I did, behind the scenes, keep playing the game, and bearing in mind I was doing that and things have been moving on, I felt it was only fair to give you guys a little bit of an update. Call it like your Gavin and Stacey Christmas special or whatever you want. But anyway, as you can see on screen, we are 30 games into the 46 this season, and we are currently sat in 12th place, so really, we haven't progressed, we've kind of stayed where we are, but dramatically there have been a lot of changes behind the scenes and there have been a lot of changes in the team itself. We've seen a lot of players we've come to know and love depart, we've seen a lot of new players come in, and to retain that position, perhaps bearing that in mind, has actually been pretty successful for us so far. We've also seen some fantastic results which I'll take you through as well, but let's start with the transfers because that's where the majority of the news is. I'm going to take you to the transfer history now. I'm going to take you back into date format. Because we've gone past January, we have had a few more players moving on since then. As you can see, some big ones as well. I would like to do it really in chronological order. However, let's get to the big news. Nathan Delfonso. This became a bit of a transfer saga. He has gone on loan to Swindon Town, and actually I tried to sell him, to be frank. There was a massive fallout, a massive halfway through the season, the tension of the club. We weren't playing particularly well. I was probably leaning on a bit too much, and consequently a little group of players broke away from that, including Mark Boller and Nathan Delfonso, and started to operate against me slightly as a manager. It's very similar to what happened at Man United with David Beckham and Sir Alex Ferguson and other players in the past, which he's had issues with, like Roy Keane. So I had to make some changes, and as you can see, that also includes in this January transfer the Mark Boller going out to Sheffield United for 3.5 million. He decided he wanted to leave. I set the transfer fee well above what he was worth, and I got what I wanted. We agreed on that. What else could I do? But obviously that was part of the chain effect of the breakdown of, sadly, what was a really good core dynamic squad for us here at Blackpool. As you can see as well in the January transfer window, we had Matthew Virtue move on to Nottingham Forest. He never really played enough for us. He's on loan there, ironically enough. Similar position to us. We couldn't really get him in, bearing in mind we managed to get Herbie Kane back, so consequently he had to move on. Cass Faber left as well to RKC on a free transfer because we couldn't really get him in there as well. It was unfair keeping him on at this time. You also might notice there's a few names that you might not have seen before who've moved on as well. Jordan Graham used to be the Wolves winger. We picked up on a free transfer and then immediately sent him out on loan to Walsall because actually I was well covered in that area. I wanted to have a look at him. I thought for the money we could get him for he'd be a good bit of business, and he was. David Round was a player that came in on a free transfer in the summer, and we've managed to send him out to Nottingham Forest now because basically he did not get a look in at all. We weren't playing that left side in our tactics, as you guys are aware. It was all Mark Boller as the left wing back coming forward, so there was no left winger position. I picked him up to be a utility option, played him sometimes in the attacking playmaker role for the Carling Cup, but obviously bear in mind he wanted to be a first team player and wanted to push on. We sold him to Nottingham Forest, who are down in the league below us and have done us a lot of good business over the January transfer window. And as you can see here as well, there's some more interesting ones we moved down. Will Volks back in August, we moved out on loan to Forest. He just didn't do it, did he? We had a look at him before and he just really didn't do anything for us in the slightest. Just really average and just really didn't push the team forward. So I felt like it was fair enough to move him on. And as you can see as well, Nathan Phillips went out on loan, as did Miles Bonney, Lewis Johnson, our young players. A lot of our young players went out. We managed to sell Brazzy Mizaku, who we brought in on a free transfer. He was on loan at Tranmere. We managed to sell him to a second division French team to make some money out of nothing, which was also very good for us. The interesting one here is Fidel O'Rourke, who is on loan at Stevenage. We signed him on a free transfer from Liverpool, and as you can see from this, he's got a lot of potential. Well, I did look at putting him in the first team, but I decided against it. Bear in mind I went another way, which I'll take you through momentarily. But interesting, he's done very well out there. And the other name which might stand out to you is Najako Stolisic, who is on loan at Kaiserslautern. He has not got a work permit, but we picked him up on a free transfer. I was hoping in the summer he might be the guy to replace Jack Anick, who sadly we did lose like we expected to. But then again, we couldn't get the work permit for this guy, so we had to go elsewhere, and we did replace him with a very good goalkeeper, as I'll show you in a moment. Right, so looking at the players now that have come in, let's go back to the start in this one. The first main signing, which meant that we moved on our young striking option in O'Rourke, was Jonathan Codger, who came in on a free transfer from Aston Villa. Very injury prone. No doubt that's the reason why we managed to pick him up on 3,000 a week. But since he has come in for us, he has done fantastic stuff. He has played 21 games, got 8 goals and 2 assists, and really bear in mind his injury record, him to stay fit this long, it's really benefited us, and that no doubt put pressure on Nathan Delfonso. That's probably why the mutiny also happened. But you have to try and push on when you're a football manager, right? Bright Inogun Hair, a guy who pronounced that Innoback Hair, who came in from Wolves on a free transfer as well. He's also now moving on, actually, as we get to the end of the transfer window. Hearts are going to pay £250,000 for him. He was a free transfer, lots of flair, lots of dribbling, hasn't really featured as much as he would like, so consequently we decided to move him on. When you've got players like Beachu and Casey Palmer and Herbie Kane, etc., it's hard sometimes to get into those positions. Anyway, going back to the goalkeeping options, Seydou Sai was the guy we went for on a free transfer from Monaco, I believe. Yeah, a free transfer from Monaco. He's played all the games for us this season and replaced Jack Anik as our number one goalkeeper. His stats are declining, which is slightly worrying, but actually saying that he has done a very good job. Bear in mind, we're still in the same position we were last year, and it was hard to come in and replace Jack Anik, who was such a figurehead at this club for so many seasons. £8,000 a week, still worth every penny for me, and still he can improve. He might be declining at the minute, but we'll look at that, maybe look at goalkeeping coaches, his training, see if we can keep pushing him forward. Another big signing for us was Mama Balde on a free transfer. Doesn't look much in his stats, but as you can see from his value and his age, he is rated very highly. And I tell you what, he has put Dembele under pressure on the right-hand midfield position. I did sign him actually as a right back, but it just looks, the way he does things, that he's more dangerous in the attacking position on the right, so that's where he's featured. Talking of the right back position, we spent nearly £100,000 on Yannick Dem this January, who has come in, and look at those stats for me at championship level. Very well rounded. I liked his crossing. Bear in mind, I like the wing backs to come forward and contribute to the attacking units. So that was absolutely superb for me and what I was looking for. Long throws are decent. Long shots even are decent. He hasn't scored yet, but he's still warming up to how he's going to play at Blackpool. Still learning the language. A lot of time for him as well. I finally also signed a player who was my version of Riyad Mahrez as such on a free transfer called Elvir Maluku, Albanian 24-year-old, dribbling of 16, flair of 17, physically okay but not brilliantly, mentally not brilliant as well, but flair. And I wanted to bring in a bit of flair and give him a go. He hasn't had much of a look so far, but I'm hoping to try and develop this guy with the Blackpool side as we head into the fourth season. And now we can see the two big ones of this January window we brought in. That was the other two just ahead of that. Kelechi McCanley, who's come in from Arsenal on a free transfer. I was going to make a bid for him and then he ended up getting released, so I managed to get in on £8,000 a week and get him in. 22-year-old Nigerian. I think he's got a lot of potential to possibly even be a striker going forward if we can improve his finishing. His first touch is what really stuck out to me, obviously, and it's what we need really in our attacking midfield position, to get the ball down and be able to lay it off to someone. The passing there is good enough for me, and we can work on this going forward. Marlon Ritter now is the last guy I want to take you to, because he, for me, is our biggest signing in the save so far. So you've got to save the best to last, right? Here he comes now. He's 26 years old, valued at £250,000, 10,000 a week. Look at those stats for the Championship. In the attacking mid position, he is now our top dog. He has started to play recently. We've only brought him in actually, I think 1 or 2 games ago. So in the next update, if we do a next update, which hopefully we will, hopefully I'll tell you how friggin' awesome he is and go, I told you so, what a signing. Great corners, great free kick taking, great flair and long shots. Got everything you could really want. And as I look at his career stats here, £100,000 from Weibasten in the third Liga in Germany. Very good scouting from me there, I think, to bring him in. So yes, as you can see, in the last 6 months, we've had a hell of a lot of turnover. We have raised £4 million, as you can see, in transfer expenditure. Mostly from Mark Bolloff to £3.5 million. David Ram, who we got in on a free transfer here already, as you can see. Back in August, we managed to sell him in January. Good profit there, £250,000 from nothing. And same for the rest of the lads we moved on, including Emil Jaskalainen, who wasn't going to make the grade. So that, so far, with the transfer, shows you how we've got off to a really good start in this in this Blackpool season 3. And just to finish off the transfer news, the biggest news I haven't mentioned, because it hasn't quite gone through yet, is the fact that Jay Spearing, our captain, will be leaving the club. I'm not sure how much money we're going to get from him. I'm just going to have a quick look here. Yeah, nothing at all. It's a loan at the end of the season. The reason why he's moving on, him and Nathan Delfonso both were in agreement about how the club was running, and they felt they had probably gone as far as they could. I had to move them both on. It's been quite brutal in that regard when we looked at the squad dynamics. Luckily, our team cohesion and dressing room outfit has now gone to very good, because we've managed to move out some of these players that were causing the problems. It is heart-wrenching, bearing in mind in some ways they did all they could for us in League One. But as you see from the hierarchy, Herbie Kane, Turton and Kaputska have really stepped up into that position and really have helped us push on. We've still got a lot of influential players who are players that are going to be here for a long time. So I'm not too worried about that at this time. Right, let's run you back through the schedule so far this season, and we started with a home 3-3 draw with Queen's Park Rangers. It was an utterly mental game. We went 2-0 up early on, sorry, 3-0 up actually if you look left, 28th minute, and then they fought all the way back. Very much a game of two halves. We had to play Sam Kellett in goal because we hadn't gone with Haroon Asai at this point, managed to get the transfer over the line. So consequently, a few pot shots from distance really damaged us there. It was 3-3 at half time, ended up 3-3. Very peculiar but very impactful game. And as you can see then, we followed that up away at Millwall with exactly the same, a 3-3 game. Once again, they went 2-0 up and then we fought our way back into it, and then they managed to get an equaliser. Seydou signed his first game in that one. Ryan Kent came in and played fantastically well for us on the right hand side in that game, as did Casey Palmer, who started the season very well. Bearing in mind we brought him back based on his stats alone. He hadn't really been up to scratch the last 2 seasons, but I always had faith in him with his stats to be able to add something to the equation. Then we got a massive result. Bear in mind, last season we managed to lose to Swansea in both games. We finally beat them. Dembele and Casey Palmer with the 2 goals after Carl Norton put them ahead. It was a great little kickstart to our season to really push us forward. Now moving on to some more interesting results. This one sticks out, doesn't it? We had a 6-0 win at home to Norwich, would you believe it? What a fantastic result that was. As you can see, Jonathan Codger starting up front and getting us 4 goals in that game, which is utterly unbelievable when you think about it. Just newly signed to the club, and he walked in there and absolutely stole the show. Then in the League Cup, we went and lost away at 4-0 at Bournemouth, a Premier League opposition. One of those things you can't do a lot else. But then moving on back into some great league form, back-to-back wins over Aston Villa 2-1 and Bristol City away 2-1 as well. Great stuff against 2 competitive sides to really push us back into that top half of the league. We lost away at Sunderland, who played very well. Will Grigg was on fire in that one. Our defence was literally terrified. But then we followed that up. Bear in mind, last season in the league, at the end of the Championship season, our home game with Preston was so emphatic with a 3-2 win. We destroyed them 7-1 at home. I've never seen a more complete Blackpool performance. It was unbelievable. There was lots of balls being played around, as you can see from the stats here. Hardy, Dembele, Kane, Palmer, Diaby, Kaputska, Bollock, Tilt, Turton, all of them over the 8 rating, all of them up towards the 9s, and as you can see, goals coming from everywhere. Tilt, Dembele, Hardy, Kane, unbelievable stuff for us there. Then comes the usual bit for us, the Blackpool slump. We got an away draw at Reading, we got a home draw with Wigan, we lost at Birmingham, home draw with Sheffield Wednesday, lost at home to Blackburn, but then we managed to restore order with an away win late on against Brighton, who have been a team we've really been a thorn in the side of, bearing in mind they should be favourites against us more often than not. Diaby and Bright Inuka on his first start with his first goal. Anyway, now Cardiff City away, we lost 2-1. Heading into November, we got Fleetwood now in the Championship, which is a massive local derby for us, and we did win the first one with Mama Balde and Kaputska getting the goals, 2-0 at Bloomfield Road. Leonard followed that up with a 2-0 win at home to Hull, which was fantastic. Once again, a few interesting results. Sheffield United on the 12th of December there. Look at that for a game. 5-4 we lost. We were leading it the majority of the way, and sadly for us, Sheffield United's fitness at that time in the season really pushed them over the line and managed to steal the game from us in the 95th minute. We at least deserved a point. That was pretty heartbreaking, and that was part of the reason that led to the breakdown in communication between Delfonso and Spearing, which has led to them moving on since. Then we went back to QPR away and got a 2-2 draw, 2 points from 2 games from QPR. Pretty disappointed with that overall. Last season we beat them a lot more convincingly. But then back-to-back wins, which is something we were good at. Away at home against Millwall, 4-2, and then away at Swansea, we won by 5-2. And Jay Spearing had his best game in the club before he left. That's why the craziness of the situation is still so apparent with him having to leave. But he scored a hat-trick. What a performance that was. We really made Swansea look amateur. To turn around back-to-back defeats last season to back-to-back wins this season was a real sign of progress for me. And as we catch you right up, had a few tricky games since. Crystal Palace in the FA Cup, who really had the extra quality edge on us. But as you can see, we still scored and competed. Huddersfield was a pretty much shut-up shop kind of affair, 0-0. Home against Fulham, we lost 3-2. Starting to look a bit tired, to be frank. That's why I had to do some business in the January transfer window, just to try and reinvigorate the squad. Norwich then beat us 1-0 after we destroyed them earlier in the season, but we did manage to do the double over Aston Villa with Siriki Dembele's quick fire 2 goals in the second half, giving us a very, very fair 3 points. Yeah, so as you can see from the league table, 30 games gone, as we said before. We've got 16 to go before the end of our 3rd season in charge of Blackpool. It looks like I will finish it before FN20, and you will get one more update video just to see where we end up. I imagine it's going to be the same as last season. We are only 7 points off the playoffs, but still that's a long way to really make a mark. Bear in mind our performances so far, very hit and miss. In the transitional phase, perhaps now we're in the Championship, and our viewers have been quite safe there, trying to transition into a more solid Championship unit. So with that being said, you got to say, we're doing really well. I think the wage budget, interestingly, if I go to the finances, has increased slightly. Yeah, now it's 152 a week. If you think last season when we started, our nearest rivals are still on 180,000 a week. We are still miles behind the rest of the opposition, and we are still running a fantastic mid-table position. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching this channel update and for the save update, in fact, as well. I know it was probably slightly unexpected, but I felt it was only fair, bear in mind the game was going on in the background. I'll keep you in the loop how we finish this one. Once Upon a Time in Blackpool keeps going on. Thank you very much. See you next time for some FM20 action. Cheers now.